Hello, this is Joe from Noncreature back for our third video on budget staple mono red cards you may want to buy. This one I'm going to take a deep breath. Artifacts, enchantments, and planeswalkers. Okay, I actually shot this before and I tried to say all of that and I just about lost all my breath. So I don't want to like pass out making a video listing things. Anyway, the first video was on budget red staples, creatures, yeah. The second video was on instants and sorceries, mono red instants and sorceries. This is the third video on the remaining card types, artifacts, enchantments, and planeswalkers. Hey, so budget red artifacts, let's get straight into it. So Fiend Lash, this gives +2, +0, and reach. Okay, so that's not bad. Again, reach is always nice to have. +2, you know, it's there. It's nothing to sneeze at, but whenever an equipped creature is dealt damage, it deals damage equal to its power to target player or planeswalker. Again, so if it gets damaged, it's damaging anyone you want, right? A planeswalker, even if you can auto damage a planeswalker like once a turn, that's probably enough to keep it from ulting at least. And players, you can potentially make things very, very large with equipment decks. So if you, for instance, use something like Shock, it does 2 damage, right? Cast it on your own creature, they immediately do damage to anyone you choose. Equip this on something like Brash Taunter as well, and then, yeah. Something with Indestructible, and then it gets real scary. 19 cents for that one. This is one I have. I do have this, and I've been meaning to put it into my Boros equipment deck for ages, and I just never got to it. I don't know why. Why don't I want to win? I don't know. Anyway. Alright. Rabbit Battery. This is a kind of a weird one at first to include. It's an artifact creature. Kind of cheating a little bit on the artifacts, I guess, but okay. It is a 1/1 for 1 red mana, and it has haste. Okay, so it's a creature on its own, but it's also an equipment rabbit. Just awesome all over. But anyway, it is 15 cents, and it's called Reconfigure. For equipment creatures, instead of equip, they call it Reconfigure, but it's essentially the same thing, right? You can only do it at sorcery speed. You cannot do it at instant speed. I think is maybe the important thing to do, as opposed to just straight up attach. Attach would be at instant speed. Okay, anyway. So equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has haste. You know, that's not great, it's not bad. Being able to give things haste is nice. And only costs 1 to equip it, or to reconfigure, whatever you want to call it. You're not getting this so that you have the +1/+1 haste. You're getting this because you have an equipment deck, and this is a creature and an equipment, okay? So, if you put this on as a creature, when attached, it is not a creature. That's one important thing to point out, right? So, let's say this is attached to a creature. Someone plays a board wipe. They kill all the creatures. This is still on the battlefield, and it gets unattached when the creature dies, so it becomes a creature again, meaning you can put all of your equipment on it. So it's basically insulated from any kind of board wipe, and you're going to be able to put it into battle whenever you need it. Again, it's a 1/1, so it's going to need a lot of stuff, like kind of bulking it up to make it into a threat, but that's something equipment decks are basically known for, right? So this is just kind of like a good kind of backup strategy safety thing to have for your deck. Keeping creatures on the battlefield is one of the kind of hassles in equipment decks. Equipment decks have a bunch of equipment. Yeah. Equipment, except for this, usually is not a creature as well. There are more of these, but not a... This is probably, I think, the best one, and it's only 15 cents. Alright, Dragon Spark Reactor for 50 cents. This is an artifact. Every time you cast an artifact, you put a charge counter on it. So, it comes in. Again, there's a lot of artifact decks in red, I think are not uncommon. Especially if you're playing like Is It, which is red and blue. Artifact decks. This is, once again, something I have and I'm meaning to put into a deck, and I haven't gotten to it. I guess I should stop making videos and just update my decks all day instead. But anyway. And pay for sacrifice Dragon Spark Reactor to deal damage to target player and a creature. Okay? So this is where I think I got a little confused before. And also if it is using counters, so if you have Proliferate, red Proliferate, you just keep adding these on and then you blow this up. And you can do just a pretty sizable chunk of damage to someone. Again, if you have an artifact proliferate red deck, that's getting complicated and specific, I admit, but I'm sure they're out there. So this is the thing to have. Even if you just use a lot of artifacts, you're getting a bonus just for, doing what you want to do. Just like, playing creatures with green, getting bonuses for that, or landfall with green, or with blue, card draw, right? Card draw with blue, we talked about. Playing things that you want to play anyway, and getting a bonus for it, right? Increasing value is what you want to do. And for 50 cents, I think it's 2 mana and 50 cents to potentially do a lot of damage. Again, to a player and one creature. The player doesn't, and the creature, or the player doesn't have to be, in control of the creature. That could be one player's creature and a different player, right? So you can hopefully kill a player, take him out of the game, and deal with the threat from another player. Magnetic Galleon. Alright, so this is 20 cents. This is a weird one, but it's, I think, very, very undervalued. I mean, 20 cents obviously is not a lot of money, but I think if people thought more about what this did, they'd go, oh yeah, I gotta have that. Anyway, ETB, 5 damage to target creature and opponent controls. So when it comes into the battlefield right away, 5 damage anywhere you choose, right? Just boom, 5 damage. Probably killing something. I mean, even a lot of dragons are 5/5s. 5 is a lot. 5 is a lot. I mean, it costs 5 mana, so you'd hope so, but anyway. It is a vehicle, you have to crew 2, but anyway. Whenever one or more creatures your opponents control are dealt excess damage, non-combat damage. So, first of all, non-combat, right? Damage, not combat damage, not from fighting other players, just from spells and abilities, things like that. That deal damage. They have to deal damage, not just destroy or something. Create a treasure token. It doesn't, this is really good, I think deceptively good, again, because of what it doesn't say you have to do the damage, right? Anyone in the game, especially commander game, if the guy sitting beside you, casts lightning bolt on a creature over there, you get a treasure. So your opponent's doing things, killing each other or fighting each other, with non-combat damage can start making you a bunch of treasure. That's crazy. That's crazy. And even this galleon, if you kill a creature right when it comes in that has 4 toughness or less, then you're creating a treasure, right? This costs 5. It's ETB, you can create 1 treasure right there. Kinda like it costs 4, as long as you kill something with 4 or less toughness. So, not too hard to do. It's a 5/5 creature once you crew 2, so that's not bad either. Again, vehicles are nice because they are artifacts until you make them into a creature, right? Until you crew them, they're considered artifacts. So, again, board wipes, things like that, they just ignore it. They don't get affected by it. Budget red enchantments now. So, Enchanter's Bane. This is one that I'm a big advocate of. Other people, not so much. Okay, you're doing it for the damage, not to kill other people's enchantments, is what I want to say right off the bat. You should have something like Torban as well, where if you do red damage, you get bonus damage. That increases the chances of someone being like, well, I guess you're going to destroy my enchantment after all, or really take a bite out of their health. You know, their life is going to really start dropping significantly. But anyway, okay, let's actually see what it does first. You know, it is 2 mana, 1 and a red for an enchantment. That is 55 cents. At the beginning of your end step, so once every turn, at the beginning of your end step, target enchantment deals damage equal to its CMC to its controller, or they sack it. Okay, so they have a choice: take damage or kill your own enchantment, because your enchantment is attacking you, basically. CMC, converted mana cost, is what that means. So let's say an enchantment is 3 green. Its converted mana cost is 5. It's dealing 5 damage, right? So 5 damage. Oh, and it would be the enchantment itself doing the damage. Okay, that's good to know. So, unless it happens to be a rare enchantment, you wouldn't control it either. Okay, so the bonus damage would not apply to that. But still, it's, you know, taxing your opponent's life to keep their own stuff on the board, or destroy it. If they're starting to get low on life, they're just going to be letting their enchantments go. So this is like kind of conditional, but I think it's quite nice. A lot of what red does is this kind of strategy where you're ticking your opponent down a little bit by little bit by little bit. It's not these huge, like, you want to do 8 damage and knock them out in like 5 hits kind of thing. It's like 2 damage, 3 damage, 2 damage, 3 damage. And all of a sudden they think, oh, that's not so bad, that's not so bad, that's not so bad. Oh, they've got like 4 life left all of a sudden. Fiery Inscription. Again, the ETB is the ring tempts you. So the first step of the ring tempts you mechanic, which people are not crazy about, which I think is reasonable, is that you can give a creature evasion. Alright? Any kind of creature blocking it can't have higher damage. I think it's higher damage than it. I'm going to check in a second here. But the main thing it does is when you cast an instant or sorcery, you deal 2 damage to each opponent. That's quite good. Every time you cast an instant or sorcery, maybe it's something that's damaging them, maybe it's something that's helping yourself, maybe it's, you know, whatever it happens to be, you're getting damage out of it. Basically, it's like a shock that hits every other player every time you cast an enchantment, or sorry, an instant or sorcery. So it's an enchantment that helps instants and sorceries. 2 is actually quite a bit for auto damage. Is usually 1, or dependent on like how much the creature does or something. or converted mana cost. So this just 2 every time. Combine that with like lightning bolt. You lightning bolt someone, and then everyone gets 2 damage, and if you hit a player with it, they get 3 damage as well. That's 5 damage. Include Torban or something like that. Okay, well then it's +2 to each damage source, right? So lightning bolt does 3, +2 is 5, and then this does 2, and then because it is a red source, +2 again. You're doing 9 damage. 1 mana, 9 damage to a player, and then 4 damage to the other 2 players in the commander game. Just nuts amazeballs. And yeah, so the ring bearer, the first step here. Your ring bearer is legendary and can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Alright, step 1, they can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. That's a nice thing to have. So, anyway, keep moving. Rising of the Day. All of your creatures have haste. Alright, so first of all, that's very nice to have. Secondly, legendary creatures you control get +1 and +0. You might think, oh, that's not so great. That's not, that's a middling card. I think that is why one of the kind of hidden things that I look for in cards is that this is not super powerful, but it is quite useful. So if someone's looking around, they're like, oh, I've got a card to kill an enchantment. If they see Rising of the Day, they're probably not going to target that, right? They're not going to look at that and say, oh yeah, I'm using my card to kill and my mana to kill that card. They're not going to do it. They're going to leave it alone, right? So that's kind of one of the things I always look for. Is that kind of like, oh, it's not worth it. If you can get people to say it's not worth killing, it's not worth removing from the game, then hey, you're getting something that is just being left alone. You don't have, it's like having ward, but like to their judgment. Word judgment 2 or something, yeah. Anyway, 44 cents. Only 44 cents, and quite good, I think. Mechanized Warfare. Okay, if a red or artifact source you control would deal damage, it deals +1 damage. Very simple, very useful for artifact decks. Again, what I said before, the Is It decks, the red-blue decks, a lot of them are artifact decks, where you're doing like artifact creatures. So even blue artifact creatures, this is +1 damage for them as well. So yeah, it is actually +1. It specifies an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls. So I think they're kind of saying like, well, we're covering our bases for the future. Maybe there's something that might be, falling cracks there. At the moment though, that is creatures, that is planeswalkers, that is, any kind of permanent you can attack. Or players. +1 damage. 69 cents. So once again, only 3 to cast. And it's going to be +1 damage to even your instants and things like that. It can do +1 damage too. Again, a red or artifact source. Alright, so creatures, sure. Lightning Bolt does 4 damage instead of 3 now. Alright. Anyway, Turf War. I think Turf War is one of the more fun and interesting ones in here. ETB, so when it enters the battlefield, you put a counter on, you choose each player, a land for each player, and put a counter on each of those lands. What are the counters called again? Contested counter. Okay, so if someone's got something like Cabal Coffers or a Crazy Land, whatever the best land is, you put this on it. And for your own, you do have to do your own, but for your own, you put something that like people don't want, right? So if no one's playing blue and you have blue, put it on an island. If no one else is playing red, put it on a mountain, right? Whatever is the least helpful to everyone else. But anyway, so when turf war enters the battlefield, for each player, put a contested counter on target land that player controls. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, that player gains control of one or more lands with contested counters on them. So basically, people are going to start stealing each other's lands that have these counters on them. So, yeah. It's kind of like, would I put this as an acceptable form of land destruction? People hate land destruction? Land stealing? They hate that? I don't know. You know? If they're going to be playing, you know, like Boseiju or something, well, I guess Boseiju is more like the channeling discard is one of the main threats there. But anyway, Cabal Coffers or something. If they're going to play something that just is like a pain in the butt to everyone else, then expect to get it stolen. Yeah. Budget red Planeswalkers. So we're finally to the last one, and here's Chandra. And a Chandra. Hey. Chandra, Torch of Defiance is what I went for here. This has two different +1/+1s. Or +1 options, not +1/+1. Just +1. But anyway, exile the top card of your library. If you don't, you may play it this turn. If you don't play that card this turn, deal 2 damage to each opponent. Or your other +1 option is add 2 red mana. So this lets you add mana or get a card. Or if you don't want that card, its backup plan is to deal damage, right? 2 damage to each opponent. Again, this would be a red source, so things like Torban can increase the damage. So if you want to just exile some cards and do auto damage, hey, yeah, you can easily set that up. -3, deal 4 damage to a creature. Once again, red source, so if you do have any kind of bonus damage there, you are going to be able to get that in there. Mechanized Warfare. With this, again, it is 5 damage then to a creature, which a lot of creatures, that's like kind of, I think 6. They do go up more, but it's very rare. Like most creatures, 5 damage, even dragons, a lot of them are just dead, right? So anyway, for -7 is the emblem. I've talked about emblems before. Emblems, once someone makes an emblem, that's it. The emblem's there for the game. Nothing you can do. You can't touch it. So that's very, very, like, probably the most powerful thing I think to get is an emblem, because you just, you know, there's no kill spell, there's no exile, there's no nothing, right? Anyway, deal 5 damage to any target. Whenever you cast a spell, deal 5 damage to any target. Nuts. Again, a spell is really like anything that's not a land. So a creature, deal 5 damage to any target. Any kind of spell, any kind of anything. This card, I think, is really amazing. It's $1, only $1. It should not be only $1, but it is. Just awesome. And Jaya, Venerated Fire Mage. Alright, this one, I do have a few of this one at least. It's 56 cents. And if another red source you control would deal damage, +1 damage. So it's this kind of mechanized warfare, Torban thing we talked about before, where extra damage, hey, extra damage, cool. And Jaya, Venerated Fire Mage, deals 2 damage to any target for -2, right? -2, she'll do 2 damage and she's red, so it's really saying deal 3 damage. And if you have anything else, like if you're Torbrand, 5 damage, and if you have Mechanized Warfare, 6 damage. So yeah, you can keep just stacking it up. Oh, sorry, I think I said 56 cents for that one. And we are getting into kind of a different strategy here. The readies, sorry. The Ready Scrap Savant. Okay, I don't know why it says Exile. It is not Exile. Discard up to 2 cards, draw that many cards, right? Once again, if you have a Madness deck, right? A Madness deck that has red, get this card. 100% get this card. Or even you can use him as your commander. So if you have him as commander, get a bunch of Madness cards. That's it, you know? And then you're getting so much value out of that. -2, his -2 is to sacrifice an artifact, return an artifact to play from the graveyard. Again, -2, kill an artifact. It does not specify non-token artifact, right? So again, if you have a treasure token, if you have a clue token, destroy that, bring something back out of your graveyard. A lot of values to be had there, but the -10, once again, emblem. Oh, emblem. Whenever an artifact goes into your graveyard, return to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. Oh boy. So, remember, artifact creatures are artifacts. So if your artifact creatures get killed by a board wipe or whatever, they go to the graveyard. Beginning of the next end step, they come back out again right away. Basically, they will stay dead for like one main phase. Excuse me. Or, you know, you can use a board wipe to get rid of them, and then attack during the combat, and then they have a main phase, and then end phase, everything comes back again. Like, basically, they're going to need a series of board wipes to keep like knocking down your stuff, and most decks don't just have like a whole bunch of board wipes sitting around. I have seen that once. It was super annoying to play against though. Yeah, super annoying. Okay, why play red? We are to the end of our red series. Yay! My throat is dying, so it's good. Yeah, it's good. Anyway, red is very fast-paced. Is a very fast-paced, aggressive color. I'm losing the ability to speak English, but anyway, there are a lot of options for direct damage and large creatures to control the battlefield with. Again, we talked a lot about direct damage and kind of auto damage in this series, so there's a lot of options for that. Red is often used in a cantrip deck, where many smaller spells can be used quickly. The cantrip deck, I really want to make one of those. Again, something like Firing Inscription, where you're casting a whole bunch of spells, very quickly. Then, yeah. Anyway, so that wraps up red, just black. Today is Friday, so Monday, I think I will record black on Monday, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Please hit like and subscribe, which I remember to say like once every 6 videos, but still, you know. Okay, thank you. Take it easy. Bye-bye.